was blind, but now I can.
Yeah, calisthenics number 12. Yeah. Fly robotics. Bifocals, my only purpose is to feed the locals. I'm spreading love when I see you and gotta approach you. I see the goodness in you, I wouldn't John Wick you. I know you hustling for your family just to pay the fiscal. I see the God up in you, He bless your physical. While we navigating problems, the world is abysmal. Skip the one up, let's get it to the center. Your house is big as mine, we can always help each other. Affirmation smother, it ain't even cost me a dime to uplift my brother.
It cost me a dime to uplift my brother. That's right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Vulnerability is the New Sexy. This is the podcast where we have real conversations. We are breaking down barriers when we're exploring the strength and vulnerability, right? I'm Joe Corley. I'm a licensed therapist, mental wellness coach, and I'm an advocate for authentic living. So this is where we talk about, we have tough conversations and we normalize seeking support for brothers, breaking down the stigmas, redefining what it means to be a man, a strong, self-aware man. And we're just showing how powerful vulnerability is. And we're going to do that today with a couple of brothers I got with me. I got my friend up north, the great Dr. Vibe. Welcome to the show, my brother. Glad to have you.
Right back at you. Great to be here with great black men, brothers. What is up?
My brother, you just heard in that intro, you know, my rapper friend, my friend, my big brother Q. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. How y'all doing? Blessed today.
All right, new to the show, black male therapist. Like I always say, man, they saying ain't many of us, but less is more, so it's plenty of us. Another black male therapist we added to the situation. My good brother, Dr. Delaney. How you doing, my brother?
Good evening. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on this platform today.
Oh man, of course. So look, I'm gonna start off with something that kind of sparked this for me. I saw the good brother Killer Mike say something, and I wanted to have a conversation with you guys about it. So let me show y'all that video, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Nobody's coming to save us. And most of us are going to talk bad about each other behind each other's back. But I'm here to tell you tonight, every generational curse, or whatever they call that bullshit, is breakable. My grandfather didn't have a father. He dropped out of school in the 3rd grade to raise his sisters and help his mother and worked in a lumber yard. By the time I got to 3rd grade, I already was reading at 5th grade level. By the time I got to 3rd grade, they already knew that this boy's gonna go to college because a man who was functionally illiterate got a trade. You learned how to drive a truck, and that's what he did. And he made sure his children valued education, and his grandchildren today are good people in this community. So I don't want to hear what rappers don't do no more.
Powerful. Let me start with you, Dr. Vi. Let me ask you something, man. When you hear the term generational curse, what comes to mind for you?
Moving backwards instead of forwards.
Yeah,
that's what comes to mind. That and another thing that comes to my mind: knowing better but not doing better.
Yeah,
that's what comes to my mind. You know, when I hear that generational curse, a lot of us were raised, and there were a lot of negative things behind us. We need to shed them off, get lighter, and move forward.
Absolutely. Brother Q, man, what do you say, man? What do you hear when you hear the word generation or the term generational curse? What comes up for you, bro?
Man, for me, it gotta be presence, man. So like a lot of my family, you know, like my uncles, they're around and everything, but they're definitely not what they made the kids with. So it's like presence is a big thing.
Yeah. So that's how he shows up in your lived experience, you know, folks not showing up for their children.
Yes.
And I know you personally, man, you breaking that generational curse consistently every day, man. So proud of you, brother. Dr. D, man, Dr. Lenny, what's up, man? Tell me what comes to mind for you when you hear the term generational curse, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, like this negative traits or, characteristics that has been like passed down from one generation to the next. whether it's, unresolved, trauma, addictive, behaviors. And, at some point, people start to, unfortunately, like start using it as a crutch, because of this happened, or I didn't have this, I can't move forward.
Yeah. Let me follow up with you, man. How do you feel like it shows up in Black families, from your lived experience?
I would say from my experience, and also how I relate to other clients, is the silence.
Yeah.
Not being able to talk about, issues. Because like in my family, when traumatic, events, happen, we really didn't process them. It was just another thing that, happened that you pretty much learned to move through or work through. But then you find out you really didn't, work through it. You just kind of just kept going, and you carry that baggage, with you. And so I would say, for myself, being an adult, I didn't learn. I mean, of course, I feel like I do a little bit better, but I kept things, inside. And with people kind of like looking at me as, you should be able to figure this out. You smart, you all this. I mean, you have all these things, going on. So when I couldn't like work out issues or figure things out, I felt ashamed because I'm supposed to be able to, figure it out. I don't supposed to have, issues, or, struggling with anything like emotional that may be holding me back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Joe, can I just add on? Do I have permission to add on to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I want to jump on and add on to what our good doctor saying, that there are some pressures, such as like being a provider or having that suppressing the emotions, that reinforce these curses. So I just wanted to add on to that there are a number of different societal things that contribute to holding on to those generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, man, I was in a session yesterday, right, with this brother, and I've been seeing this brother for quite some time, and slowly, as most brothers do when they get into therapy, they really, really slow to get to the vulnerable stuff. So I've been, chipping away, and eventually the brother started, really getting into some stuff and some real traumatic things from his childhood. So he's really been exposing himself. But this particular session yesterday, he invited his fiance to it, and I worked through an exercise with them that involved them, like, speaking to each other in the eye, looking each other in the eye, and ending off the conversation with an embrace. And he was struggling really bad to look his woman in the eye and to like open his arms and hold her like in public. Now, I had to point out to him, I said, brother, you have told me some really intimate details of your life. So for you to be embarrassed about showing this type of affection towards your fiance right in front of me is actually illogical and crazy. And he kind of said, man, he got stuck for him, and he said, man, you're right. And he turned around and opened his arms. So I bring it up to say generational stuff, man. Like obviously this brother's been passed down from generation to generation to be told that you're not supposed to show that type of affection or emotion in front of another man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring that out, man. And listen, hey, if you're out there and you're listening, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. We're talking about generational curses. And listen, type in the chat how generational curses show up for you, or what does it mean when you hear the term generational curse? Throw it out there. We'd love to hear from you, especially if you grew up in a Black family. So, Q, man, let me ask you, man, in your opinion, why do you think these patterns often remain like unspoken? Why don't we talk about it?
Man, I think it got to do with accountability, man. Like a lot of Black men really don't want to be accountable for the stuff that took place. Like, and I want to put it out there, like right now. I don't want to let nobody off the hook, but Black generational, it has nothing to do with racism. So like we could throw that out the window. It's black men accountability. You know, like I was saying, presence and stuff like that. Like it's just being accountable. Like you made a kid, take care of your kids. You know, you made a promise before God to, your vows and to get married. Yeah, honor that. You don't gotta have 80 women, 30 women. Like it's accountability. So that's what I feel like, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna push back a little bit because that display of masculinity, man. Dr. Lane, like you got something you're gonna see. Go ahead, man. I know you're gonna go into it too. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I just, one, I want to agree. I agree with Quinn when he said about the accountability. That is, very, very important. I think like we can't like blame like other races for our own accountability, but we do have to, we can't ignore the systemic like racism that has, a lot to do with like generational, curses. Because you think about, some of the things with Black fathers, you're not being in a home. Then we have to look at the criminal justice system. How you have more African American men like going to jail, for the same crimes that white men do. Or you think about the inequities when it comes to unemployment. So all of those things you think about as we're talking about men. And let's think about the inequity and unemployment, not having like fair housing. Not that it's an excuse, but it does plays on a person like mental, like capacity. If you're not able to, provide from your family, how do you feel as a man when you can't support your family? When people don't know how to deal with those type of feelings or those type of emotions, sometimes they will avoid those, situations, and they run from those situations, abandon their families. And that kind of thinking or behavior, get passed down when it's not addressed.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
If you're not addressing the fact that, what comes with accountability and where it stems from, like Dr. D said, man, like it's so ancient, brother. Like it's so ancient. Like if you spin a record of Black life and drop the needle anywhere, you're gonna land on somewhere where the agenda is to remove the Black man from the household and convince him that he doesn't need to take accountability for what. But absolutely, it starts with accountability. We should be taking accountability for our lack of anything, or the way that we're showing up and presenting ourselves in the family, in the home, or in the community altogether. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like that's how you break the curses, like by taking accountability. Like systemically, yes, we have been downplayed, but it's a lot that we have gained from a lot of that. Excuse me, a lot that we have gained from a lot of that. And pushing forward to break those curses, I think accountability is like the main thing that we need to do.
Absolutely. Daniel, yes, it is on YouTube, brother. You can go find it. Just type in "Vulnerability is the New Sexy" and type in "Generation" or something like that. It should pop up. Go to the Boss Network, if you know where that is, and you'll find it there. Thank you for watching, brother. I'm happy to have you in the room tonight. Dr. Vibe, man, let me ask you, man, how do you think like the societal expectations, come on now, impact Black men's roles and expectations, brother? How does it impact us?
Is this the question for the rest of the show or just for a few seconds?
Just take a few seconds, man.
Okay. Well, society still, in most cases, expects the man to be the leader.
Okay.
And as we've discussed a little bit already, we as Black men, we're already way behind for a number of reasons. Some of it our fault, some of it is not our fault. And I compare it to you're in the middle of the ocean and you have no life preserver. You're paddling. And emotionally, you can get burnt out. And for a lot of men, the easiest thing is to quit, whether it's quit being the family, quit going out there. They just quit.
Yeah.
So they feel that all these curses, there's no one there to help me. When I ask for help, it's not there. They're just a number of things, not making excuses. This is reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
This is reality. I'm not making excuses, but this is reality. And just out of time, it's just so easy for so many Black men to quit. And I understand it. But we just got to keep on going. So societal wise, that's a whole other show in itself, but that's just maybe a 45-second response.
Yeah. And hey, if you felt the burnout out there and you in the chat, just type yes, sir, in the chat. That's all I want from you. If you felt that burnout before and it's gotten rough on you, feel like you wanted to give up, just type yes, sir, in the chat, man.
Well, can I just add something really quick too, Joe?
Absolutely.
I was talking to a brother who him and I have been close for 30 years. And we just recently had a conversation. I said, how are your holidays? He said, Dr. Vibe, they weren't good. And I think I mentioned this to you already. And I said, why? He said he spoke to 5 close Black men that have just quit. Whether it's generational stuff that's been going on, they've just quit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot we're expected to do that we don't have the answers to everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
we as men, rightly or wrongly, are expected to have the answers for everything.
Right.
And can I add something to that? Just like because I just recently had a conversation with one of my close friends, and they asked me because I see so many clients a week and do other things, and he asked me are you burned out? And my quick response was no, I'm good, because it's just like I have we have that innate just kind of responsibility or reaction to say that we are okay, because we don't want to say that we're tired or that we're weak. And for some reason I did not want to admit that I was like getting close to burnout, and I had to like go back and immediately just kind of retract that statement and allow myself to say I am having a little burnout.
Yeah, exactly, brother.
And I think like when we can't like acknowledge that, then you just keep going till you just kind of, I guess what the young folks say, like, crash out or, burn out, not being able to acknowledge just kind of like, where you are, mentally, physically, or if you need help.
Yeah. That's what we're working on, man. That's why honestly, why we present right now. That's why I'm present right now to help brothers just open up and say, I need help. I'm not okay. And try to break some of these generational curses, because one of the big generational curses that we pass down is that ability is somehow a hit against your masculinity. Meanwhile, you crashing out, you burning out, and you can't figure out why. And what does it manifest itself as? Anger. What do you become? You either, like Q say, abandon your responsibilities and you lack accountability, or you you're present, but you become an abuser or abusive. And that's not everybody. Some brothers know how to manage themselves, and just it's a lot of brothers who don't. And those are the kind of brothers that I'm seeing on a regular that are happy and free to be unlocking something from themselves, man. It's a beautiful, it's at least once a week, I swear to you, once a week. I don't know how often it's happened for you, Dr. Delaney, but once a week, one of these brothers is like overcoming or coming out on the other side and like, man, I really been doing this wrong the whole time.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up about the, anger or, being abusive, because, when you first start like sessions, especially like with, Black males, and I would say males in general, but we're talking about Black males today, is that you always hear that, I was told not to, show, emotion. And I'm like, well, did you just tell me you knocked down a chair the other day? And it's emotions. Just because you're not crying, it doesn't mean that, your emotions are not manifesting, in some type of way. And I think that's what a lot of men think about being emotional, is the crying aspect and ignoring like the yelling, the throwing things, becoming abusive. All that is, a negative way of expressing emotions.
Oh man, you said so. I honestly, as much as I know that, I've never actually said it out loud, man, and really processed the fact that they say I can't show emotions, but ignore all the negative emotions that they're showing by throwing chairs and showing up angry. That's a good one, brother. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be using that one, man. I see this right here. People smell vulnerability as a weakness and prey on it. And you know what, man? I hear you. I hear you, brother Mike. And I'm gonna push back just a little bit to say that if you are showing vulnerability in a real way, you can't be preyed upon, because the things that you would consider yourself embarrassed about won't embarrass you.
Right.
I struggle with this or I struggle with that. I sometimes feel like I'm an inadequate father or an inadequate husband. I can't forgive myself for me stepping out or cheating. And these are all things that, man, if you really say out loud, you can't be preyed upon for it. You just can't be. What you think, Q?
Man, I agree. I totally agree with you. Like good brother Dr. Vibe said, I was talking to one of my friends today, actually, and he was expressing to me how he felt burnt out with his marriage, and he was like, how do you do it? And I'm like, no, bro, I be having my days too. You know what I'm saying? Like, wife's probably mad at me at this moment. Like, so it's a choice that you have to, want to fix things and, want to be happy. Like, it's just a choice you make. And being vulnerable is a choice. Like, if you choose to be vulnerable, like you said, you cannot be preyed upon, because I chose that. And, I made that known. So to me, it's not a weakness, because I have already told you. So it's nothing you can't say to, back me down from that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you call me, you call me an ignorant bastard or whatever. Yeah, I already said that. What I did was ignorant. I'm already admitting to that. So how do we fix it?
For sure, man.
You want to add to that, Dr. D?
Well, I wanted to say, I also, agree with what, Mike was saying about how, people prey on weakness. But we talked about being like vulnerable, like with that. I'm thinking about being vulnerable, like this kind of with people you are, close to, and your family, like your friends, they owe you that safe space to be vulnerable, to be vulnerable with. And if, you're not, getting it, they're not providing that, from you, then you need to assess like your circle.
Yes, 100%. If you can't be vulnerable with the people you're around, then you need to question with the circle that you're in. 100%, man. I mean, that goes without saying. I should say that though, because you're right, Dr. Say that because you can't be preyed upon by the people who love you. Right?
Facts.
That's
Facts.
it.
You can, but you should be.
Right.
You should.
Yeah, there you go. Listen, I want to spend some time talking about what our responsibility is to, the next generation, especially our own children, to show up well for our, when I show up, what I mean by show up well, I mean our responsibility to show our children or the next generation of children how well we should be treating the women or our partners that we're with. All right. So I want to show this video real quick, and then I'm gonna talk about it on the other side, man.
Dad, I need to talk to you about something. I used to grow up and want to be like you.
That makes sense.
And now I don't.
What you mean you don't want to be like me? Who you want to be like?
You're an awesome dad. You give me everything I want, but you don't know how to treat women. You're the only one in this family. You never want to hold your girlfriend's hand or walk with her or take her on a date. You're the only person in this family that don't know how to treat a girl.
I don't want to, because I'm not sweet? Because I'm not sweet, you don't want to be like, you don't want to.
That's the whole point of getting a girlfriend. Cause if my mama, she was always rude to you, you wouldn't even want to be with her, would you? Would you?
No.
Exactly. So why do you think she would want to be with you if you was nice? Explain. People always trying to not hurt your feelings and tell you everything that's not what you really are.
In a minute, man, but I want to start with Q because I know he's raising 4 boys and he's in the home with their mother. And I want to get your reaction, Q, when you see something like that. What responsibility do you take upon yourself to show your sons how you treat their mom?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I take it one situation at a time because I think and it's 3 boys, Joe. Come on, man, 3, not 4.
Yeah, brother.
But but I take it one situation at a time and try to make sure I use that as a learning experience. And when I mess up on my side with my wife, I make sure to let them know, like, this is why she's upset about what I did. And if you can, take these steps to, make sure that doesn't happen. And I think dude took what was coming from his son very well. Like, I don't know, I would have bugged up on my son, like, what you talking about? But that's a part of the vulnerability thing. Like, you gotta intake some of that so you know how to make changes. So, like, I'm very open with my 3 boys. Like, they literally could open up to me about anything, like, and we have that safe space in here, me and my wife, for them. So I openly tell them, like, nah, I messed up, I'm apologizing, I apologize, and seeing what I did wrong and then try to fix it. So I take it one situation at a time.
Yes, sir. Dr. Vibe, man, you want to add anything to that, brother?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think being vulnerable with the ones you love, no matter what age they're at, is critical, especially with younger people, because they're always watching us.
Yeah.
When we don't think they're watching us, they're watching us. And if you mess up, I'm going to say, for the future of your family, when you're gone, you want to show what you've done wrong and admit it to them.
Yes.
And say that was wrong. Because remember, every child that's in your house is probably going to outlive you.
Yeah.
So you want to set the foundation for them to be great human beings, great Black human beings going forward. And if you're with a partner, you want to show that, be open with them. You have to be open with them, because if they're getting the wrong message, they're already getting enough wrong messages out there. But if it's coming from the home first, there could be some real challenges there. So I think it's really, really important that, especially because a lot of times we weren't raised that way and things have changed.
Yeah.
So we have to adopt with the change and flow of the times.
For sure.
Oh yeah, my mom and my stepdad, just to interject real quick. My mom, my stepdad, they got into something and anybody said something, it was, hey, stay out of grown folks' business. Like, It wasn't no explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man, listen, I watched, like I said, man, I'm very open about this, man. I watched my stepfather consistently beat my mother in her face, and sometimes bloody and black and blue, and never once, and he's still living today, has he ever explained any of that or try to have a conversation about any of it.
Wow. No,
So, I mean, I actually spent a lot of my time, and this is not, I don't think this is necessarily the healthiest way, but I just spent a lot of my time trying to be the opposite of that.
There you go.
And, but even still, I still don't understand. I still don't know if that's the healthiest way, but let me ask you, Dr. D, if that guy comes in your office, he sits down with you and says, my son says, I don't know how to treat women. He doesn't want to be like me. Where do you start with him?
Well, yeah, I first asked him, why do you think, he, felt that way? And asked him, how do he feel like he's showing up, to his son? One of the things I heard him say, he was like, what? Because, I'm not sweet. You don't want to be not like me because I'm not sweet.
Right.
And really, work with defining, that term to him, being sweet, being nice, to, his wife, doing romantic things. Like, what does that mean, to him?
Yeah.
And, working with him and maybe like changing, his perspective, regarding that. Because it's often, this could be him, the way that because like his son said, like, you provide, everything, for me. So his way to show love, could be, making sure like the bills are paid, making sure, they have like the material, things and stuff like that they want, but missing that other, piece. And that could have been another part of that generational curse or what he had been taught or saw or seen.
Yeah. No, that I'm glad you caught that barb right there about why, because I'm not sweet, man. That is absolutely some stuff that's got passed down. And that makes me want to ask y'all a question, man. When you think about some of the things that you've had to unlearn, what is like one of the most ridiculous, illogical things that you grew up thinking and understanding that you had to unlearn in your adult life? I'm gonna start with you, Q. What do you?
Man, I say this all the time. Like, my friends, they come to me for advice because we've probably been married longer than a lot of people. Being tough with your wife, like, you don't have to be tough with her. Like, you can chill out. You know what I'm saying? You don't always got to be, this aggressive person, or like dude was saying, you ain't always got to be, not sweet. Like, you rude. You can be sweet. Like with me and my wife, like, sometimes I overshare because I feel like I'm so self-aware of the things I don't want to happen in my marriage and as in fatherhood, that I overshare. So I've learned I'm trying to learn how to not overshare. But yeah, like, that's one of the things. Like, oh, you tough with your wife, or you keep her out of your emotions, period. So she don't even know how you feeling at all. Like, that's one of the most ridiculous things that I've learned, like, to put out of my marriage. Like, no, I'm not being tough with my wife at all.
Yeah. No mind reading. That's one of my rules when I do couples, man. Ain't no such thing as mind reading. No. He should know. No, sis, you got to tell him. She should know. Nah, bro, you got to tell her, or we're not gonna get nowhere.
Right.
Dr. Vibe, man, what about you, man? What's something you had to unlearn, man?
Well, this is a personal story. And growing up, I can only say from my lens, I didn't talk much with my father. Like, he was a teacher, and I felt more of a student than his son.
Mm-hmm.
And about 15 years, and I just thought in my mind, okay, guys aren't supposed to talk because he's my major role model growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he had suffered a heart attack. Need a moment.
Yeah. Take your time, brother.
Salute, bro.
Take your time, bro.
We here for you, bro.
He had suffered a heart attack and was in the hospital. And the morning of his surgery, I wheeled him in. And waiting for 3.5 hours saying, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. Didn't have that relationship with my major mentor, saying that I just have to shut down. And then when the doctor came in the waiting room, because it was just myself and my mom there, nobody else, no one other family. And he said he's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran over to the doctor and I got on my knees and hugged the doctor's leg. Because by the grace of God, this gentleman and his team gave me a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, can I see him? He said, sure. Go in there. And I said, Dad, how you doing? He says, I can feel my feet now. And I said, from that point on, we were not going to have a generational curse of us not talking to each other.
Yes, sir.
And now, with him still alive at 87 years old, he calls me his best friend.
Amazing, bro. Thank you for sharing that, bro. I really appreciate you being vulnerable, man.
So, and I just want to encourage Black men, no matter what your relationship is with your father, try to make it the best you can, because when your dad is gone, it's going to be one of the most difficult parts you're going to have in your life, no matter what your relationship with your father is. I'm complete.
At one point, it's going to get difficult, man. I'm talking to somebody who lost his father at 16. You know, I didn't really feel it in the moment, but as I got older, for sure, there was moments where I wish I had that conversation that you had, man. So if that opportunity is there, I know it's not easy for everybody, and there's some really, you know, broken relationships, and maybe, you know, it's best for you to stay out of it. Maybe that's the best thing for you. But if there's an opportunity to bridge that, I'm always going to advise somebody to do that, or try and give an attempt to heal that wound, man. Dr. Laney, man, what about you, man? What is something you had to unlearn?
Well, I had to learn to be like more sensitive and like more respectful for like the space that, you know, some people are in, because of, you know, some of the things that, you know, I experienced, you know, growing up, just kind of, you know, like you, witnessed domestic, you know, violence, and, you know, suffer, you know, physical abuse. So when I hear, you know, when I heard other people complaining about other things that I felt was less than, you know, what I experienced, I would be like, okay, so that's what you're crying about. So even, you know, as a therapist, so becoming not to be so desensitized to, you know, other people's, you know, traumas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's big.
Yeah, man, it's huge, man. That's huge.
Real strong.
I always tell people, man, like, you know, I only had, you know, my father pretty much disappeared when I was 5. And then when my mother died at 15, he reappeared in my life. And then he died like less than a year later when I was 16. So I only really got that year with my father. And there's a couple little things that he said at that time. And one of the things that he said to me that I remember is crazy. My memory's terrible, but these little gems that he leaves you, well, I thought it was a gem at the time. The brother said, man, it's a 10-to-1 ratio with these women out here. And I'm really mad because it's somebody out there with 3 of my hoses. I can only find 7 of them. That's what he gave me, bro. That's what he gave me.
That's wow.
I gotta get to work.
You wow for that one, bro.
That's me, man. I mean, but that's the kind of stuff, you know, that I had to unlearn, man. Like I had to, like, really, I was probably in my 30s, honestly, before another grown man, my uncle, his brother, you know, who's super player, right? Super player, but never been married, never, you know, committed to one woman, but never had to lie or cheat on no woman. And he looked at me and said, man, what you got going with your wife is a beautiful thing, man. You should definitely honor and cherish and protect. I was in my 30s before a grown man that I respected told me that, man. And it really shook me, man. It really shook me because I was fighting the thought that what I was doing wasn't cool. Trying to be with this one woman, because I'm like, damn, it's 9 of them out there that I gotta go corral some kind of way. You know, I gotta go find this other 9 to get it right. But no, man, I appreciate y'all brothers being vulnerable, man. I wanna show another video, man, and then lean into something else right after this. But I'm gonna play this video and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
How do you commit to breaking that cycle to ensure, you know, your kids don't have to follow in those same footsteps?
Let me read something to you real quick. It mean a lot to me. Man, I ain't trying to cry, but it say break generational curses. Quit yelling at your kids before they go to bed and expect them to sleep well. Quit yelling at your kids in the morning right after they wake up before school and expect them to have a good day. You set the tone for your children. You set the tone for your voice. They will always remember in their heads. You become the inner voice. Don't be the inner critic. Speak life. Speak love, speak bravery, kindness and hope. Speak wisdom and truth. Most of all, listen to your children. I never had none of that. I get that to mine. And that's my number one priority. I follow that. That's how I break it. And I do it, I live it. I live it. You know, that narrative shit. That's what they never wanted to pick up.
Yeah, man. That brings me to this brother right here said, meet people where they are in their life. You know, no, that's not what he said. That was his earlier comment about, yeah, it's easy to be vulnerable with your children. And I want to say, man, I'm gonna throw this to you, Dr. Laney. Well, my experience, defensiveness in black men shows up often when it comes to your children. Like when I get a client in my room and he starts talking about the way his kids talk to me, almost always leads with defensiveness. So, I mean, what's been your experience, Dr. Laney?
First of all, I do want to acknowledge that's my brother who, made that comment. That's why.
All right, what's up, bro?
So, one of the things that I do, want to acknowledge this with, my clients is that they can see themselves as kind of like in like their like children. And so sometimes they're working like so hard, not to be like the father that, they had, that, when one of their children, may say something about, about them, they listen because they want to try to correct, like those, behaviors. I think like sometimes the defensiveness also comes to play when I see with clients is that sometimes you don't want to admit that you made a mistake. When you're so focused on being like a good parent, being a good father, you think that's what you're doing. But when somebody else, bring that attention, and I don't think it comes out of stubbornness, but you pride yourself on being like a good parent. And so you don't want to, be told otherwise is where the defensiveness will come up.
Yeah, 100%, man. I have sessions where brother comes in and we start talking or the child or the wife starts talking, and like 20 minutes, this probably happened to me this week, about 10, 15 minutes in, he was like, oh, I didn't know it was Bash so-and-so day. I didn't know it was Bash me day. We can't get to the healing unless we talk about the hurt. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have opportunities for you to say how you feel about certain things, but it's like these people are just talking about how they feel, and you feel attacked, most likely because you believe some of what they're saying is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your defensiveness has come from. I always tell people when somebody's getting defensiveness, more than likely when they're getting defensive, that person believes part of whatever it is that they're being defensive about. So they say a hit dog or holler. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dr. Vi, man, what came up for you watching that video, brother?
Some of it personal because I experienced some of that. Right?
You finna start crying again?
No, not no. But that is another generational curse.
Yes, for sure.
For sure.
Right? How many of our male role models you never saw cry?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, there's just so many emotions going on in my heart right now in regards to this conversation, and seeing that, I'm sure many black men can relate to what that gentleman was saying in that video.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the important thing was there was another black man there to hug him.
Yeah, that was deep.
Hey,
right?
Well, I say it don't make you less of a man to say I love you.
Exactly. Like, he was accepted in the present right then and there. No shame, no guilt, no judgment, and gave him, as our doc was saying, I like to say a safe and brave space to share and get that out of his heart and off his back. And I'm sure that he's become a better person from that moment on, saying, and could you imagine how long that's been inside of him?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That generational curse has been inside of him, and he got a chance to release, almost like being a slave.
Right.
He was able to break those chains.
100%. Yeah. Q, man, how speaking on what Dr. Vibe is saying, man, about that male embrace, man, and don't make you less of a man and say I love you and all of that. When we talking about unlearning some of these generational curses, man, how important is it to be involved or embedded in a community of Black men? How important is that for Black men?
Man, I think it's the most important thing, man, because like I'm sorry, what's the name? Dr. Lane, Dr. D, like he was saying, like if you don't have that safe space in your circle, like you're doing something wrong. So you gotta have some nice aware Black men around you. Like if you don't, you fooling yourself.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be somebody to tell you, man, that was wrong, man. Like coming from another strong Black man, like that was wrong, man. Like, I might not have said it to you at that moment because I got your back, but behind the closed doors, I'm gonna tell you, man, that was wrong. Like you need to correct that, But I want to say about that video, man, like not all of it, of course, but piece of that was me. That was me. My kids wasn't getting up in the morning. I was hollering. And it's crazy because my wife said his exact words, how you expect to be yelling at him in the morning and expect him to have a good day.
Yeah.
Like, specifically my youngest son, he has a hard time getting up sometimes. So I used to be that dude until she said that and that hit me. She said those exact words though. And that's nuts. And I've never seen that Dez Bryant video, but she said those exact words to me.
That's crazy, man. I never saw it either till yesterday, doing a little research, and I came across it. I was like, I'm gonna add this to the show, man. But yeah, me too as a father, man. I had to unlearn some of that stuff too, because I was consistently getting yelled at for stuff that really wasn't, yellable offenses. If you ask me, it could have been solved through other means, you know what I mean? But I had to learn again to what do I need from my sons? What do I need? All right, what is the end result? What do I need? And let me talk and communicate what it is that I need and how what they're doing makes me feel. If it makes me feel away, man, I have the right to say that to my child. Like, man, when you're not doing this, man, son, I get scared, bro. I don't really, I fear for your everyday existence. I fear for it. I want you to come out on the other side of this thing as the best man possible. And when you're not showing 24/7 exemplary, manhood, I start to take it personal, which is a me problem. But I'm just letting you know that's where it's coming from. It's a me problem, but I'm scared. And we have conversations like that, man, all the time. Me and my sons, for sure. I want to show y'all one more thing, man, that came across, man. I want to get y'all opinion on what this brother's saying. I just learned this, so y'all bear with me. I just learned this at the beginning of the show, how to share my screen. So let me get to it.
We get out of trying to normalize childhood trauma as a shit. That shit bothers me, right? You gotta let me finish, please. But that shit bothers me, the childhood trauma as an excuse or as a way to play victim, right? Because my thing is this, right? I'm a grown ass man in every capacity, and I say I'm grown because I own my house, I own my cars, I got all my own shit. You can't be grown without your own shit, right? I was a kid once. I watched my mom get shot in front of me. I was in a house full of crack addiction. I was child abused. I was all of that shit, right? But I became a man because life made me become a man quick. And I feel like we just like to give people this safe space with this childhood trauma shit because it's like, well, my dad didn't buy me the toy truck I wanted when I was 6, and that's why I cheat on women. Why doesn't childhood trauma ever affect you when it's shit that you want to do? Childhood trauma didn't stop you from getting a job. Childhood trauma didn't stop you from pursuing that woman that you wanted. Childhood trauma didn't stop you from pursuing those dreams you wanted. Childhood traumas didn't stop you from running the streets. So how the fuck would childhood trauma stop you from loving me right? I grew up in one of the brokest homes ever, but it's a conscious decision that we make as human beings, and we always give people a safe space. Oh, because when I was 17, when I was in college, the bull grabbed.
You, Dr. Delane, I'm gonna come straight to you, man. How did it make you feel, bro?
When I saw that, just listen to it. One, it is a person who definitely don't know, what he's talking about. But I don't know why, but I could like kind of feel like he was just like angry. When he was, expressing that way he was angry about, I don't know. But I think it was such a disrespect, to people's, trauma, that, saying that, people like use that, as an excuse, and him just not really understanding how, childhood trauma impacts like your, adulthood, or across lifespan. I'm sorry, I'm just a little, a little taken back. I wish you should have let me see that earlier. I could have responded better.
Producer Tierra showed that to me like right before the show, and I said, "I'm gonna include this," and I thought it was important to talk about that.
Yeah,
but that made me feel away, man. So I went to you as a therapist, man, first to see how it made you feel, man. It definitely made me feel away. It offended me, bro. It offended me big time watching that. But Dr. Vibe, what'd you feel, man, watching it, bro?
I piggyback what the doctor said, but I found it very interesting what he defined what made him a man.
Yeah.
Like usually when you ask someone that question, the first thing they say is usually the top of mind. It was material.
Yeah.
And I heard a whole bunch of material things and then a little bit of his backstory. I agree. I heard a lot of anger there, and everyone has a different story. His story is different than any of our stories.
Yeah.
Right. So for him to just say, just for label, if you're not like me, you're not right. I'm sorry. I can't work with that. And I believe that if we knew some of his backstory and the way he even is carry on now, I'd love either one of the two doctors to have a session with him. That would be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely needs one, man. Q, what'd you think, bro? Hold on, let me unmute you, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Bro was toxic, man. Like, I mean, I deal with these. I see these kind of people every day in my life, man. Like, he trying to be too tough. He think that success is the reason, that he didn't have those childhood traumas and that he was able to overcome what it is. But you could tell he's the one who has the childhood traumas. He actually named them. He told us all his traumas.
Sure.
But still said, "Oh, well, I'm successful, and then it stopped me from doing this," or towards the woman, like, "Why should it stop you from loving me?" or whatever, But yeah, you could tell he's toxic, bro. Like, that bothered me, and because I the time I had my therapy sessions, bro, like I went there for one reason, and it unpacked so much other stuff from my childhood that made me become a better man. So I know for a fact what he's saying is false.
Yeah. And he does what a lot of men, or black men especially, do: equate accomplishment to value. Like, okay, I've accomplished these things, so I have value. I must not have. I'm not making excuses for the things that have happened to me. So neither should you, right? Because I've accomplished this. You can. If I've done it, you can do it. And like Dr. Vibe said, man, everybody's story is different. Everybody's lived experience is different. And it's important to understand and break down, kind of some of the stuff he's saying, because a lot of folks think like that, man. Especially when, and I hear it a lot as a therapist, that, oh man, this therapy stuff is going too far. I'm not responsible for your childhood trauma. Let's stop using it as an excuse. Partly what he's saying is correct. I mean, if someone in your life has dealt with childhood trauma And the result of that is showing up in you guys' relationship some kind of way, whether you're a friend or a wife or a child or whatever, then yes, it is not on you to accept their childhood trauma and then excuse their abuse. That's not a thing. You know what I mean? But you can acknowledge it and then make a decision after that. Just not acknowledging somebody's childhood trauma is not okay. It's not okay. But you don't have to accept any abuse behind it for sure. You know? I want to answer this question, man, and Dr. D, I want you to answer it too, man. But my opinion on this, you know, what resources can a child, you know, do to value vulnerability and embrace vulnerability when they don't have anyone in their circle? So I don't know what your circumstances are, but the first thing I'm going to say is you're looking at the resources, right? This is the resource when they don't have anybody in their circle, and vulnerability is not a talent. It's a skill. You know, I mean, it can be a talent, but when I say it's a skill, I mean it can be learned. You know what I mean? You can teach somebody vulnerability, but you have to put them in a space with someone who understands how to teach somebody vulnerability. What we do as therapists is encourage and teach vulnerability. I'm speaking for myself. I work with Black men or, you know, Black boys, Black teens, and try to teach them vulnerability and encourage them to be vulnerable. And I show them the value of that vulnerability, you know? So what do you say to that, Dr. B?
Yeah, I think, you know, just kind of going back, you know, to the comment, taking them out of, you know, that circle, if that vulnerability is not provided, you know, in that space, you know, putting them in spaces where, you know, that is, you know, encouraged. You know, with young boys, you know, sometimes I use the word, you know, vulnerability, but I also like to use, you know, emotional, you know, intelligence, you know, more so to, you know, create like more like self-awareness and being able to like identify, you know, how they feel and express, you know, how they feel. So, but back to the question is moving them, you know, out of that, you know, circle, finding other, you know, safe spaces that encourage vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly, man. Listen, man, I'm gonna round off, man, with some of your takeaways from the night or things that you want to leave people with. Some brothers out there that may be struggling with vulnerability. It's maybe some ladies struggling with brothers who are dealing with or suffering, or no, I'm saying, yeah, suffering or struggling with vulnerability. Dr. Vibe, I'm gonna start with you, man. What do you impart people with? And you know, if you want to share anything about what you're doing or where people can find you, please feel free to do that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the brothers here and Miss Black Hollywood for allowing me to be in this space. Some quick suggestions. If you're a Black father, be your best to be emotionally present. Prioritize mental health and allow your children to feel safe expressing themselves. And if you're also Black men, small but impactful actions you can take, like apologizing to children, to spouse, anyone that you need to apologize to, I suggest you do it. Also, start having conversations with other Black men, with therapists about feelings, or get some mentorship. But I also want to be encouraging, saying that it's never too late to heal and break cycles. Start sharing a message of hope and persistence. You know, just the power of starting small is so huge. And again, get together with other Black men. It all starts with you. It all starts with one. And then finally, my question would be, what's one thing as a Black man you can do today to create the legacy you want for yourself and other Black people, whether it's your family, your friends, other Black men? And if you want to reach out to me, I'm Googlicious. Put in the Dr. Vibe Show, and you'll find everything I do. I host 4 or 5 live shows a week, and I'm complete.
You say you what now? You Googlicious. What'd you say?
I'm Blackalicious. And Googlicious.
Googlicious, Blackalicious. let me not be toxic like bro, man. Hey, Q, man, what's up? you got for the people, man?
Man, I started it with, I'm ending with it too, man. Like accountability, like be accountable. It's okay to share, you know, take heed and telling, you know, somebody that you're sorry. Like, man, I messed up. You know, it's not making you look weak. You know, a little vulnerability go a long way. You know, so accountability, man. Always be accountable, and don't think you weak for being accountable.
Yes, sir. Dr. D, man, leave us with Q. You know, you got anything to promote, brother?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, my album out, man. Authentic Intelligence is on all platform, all streaming platforms, iTunes included, title, all of that. Please go check me out, man. Fly Robotics, FLYROBOTICS. It's very grown up music, very intellectual music, and something that you will listen to for a test of time. So please go check me out. It's long though.
Yes, but it's good, brother. I want to again acknowledge, man. I listened to it myself several times. Great music, man.
Thank
you, brother. Dr. D, what's up, brother?
I would just say, you know, learn to, you know, listen to like your spouses, your partners, you know, your children. Oftentimes, you know, I have, you know, clients who, you know, struggle to, you know, feel like they're making their families happy or feel like they're missing the mark, you know, somewhere. And I always ask, you know, what are they saying, you know, to you? Like, what are your wife has, you know, been, you know, communicating? So, I mean, it's not hard, you know, you listen to what's being like, you know, communicated to you and, you know, be open to, you know, receiving like those messages. I know we run out of time, but you can find me at workintherapy2023.com. Again, that's workintherapy2023.com.
All right, man. Thank you for joining me, brother. For real. And I just want to say this, man. I'm gonna leave you out with this, man. When I was transitioning my son from regular school to homeschool, there was like a period of time where you just have to do nothing. And, you know, you're not doing any type of school. And that was really scary, by the way, because my whole life I've been in school and I thought, you know, you got to attend school. You got to be learning something, doing some type of worksheet or taking some type of test all the time to get to meet the grade and all these other things. But that period of time where you do nothing, and they say it's like a couple months for every year that your kid was in school, is called unschooling, where you have to unlearn the system of school that you've been in and learn your entire life in order to prepare your son, your child, for homeschool, which is a completely different vibe, you know? And I'm relating this to this conversation because there's years and years and years of things that we have learned as Black men that we must now start to unlearn in this next generation and understand that the things that our heroes or our ancestors had to do because of the circumstances that they were in are not necessarily some of the things that we have to do in order to show up today. And some of the things that they necessarily didn't have to do, but they were taught to do or passed on down from generations before them. And now they pass these things on to us. We have to unlearn some of these things, bro. Like, you know, having intimate moments with other men, that's okay. You can do that. And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being gay, but it doesn't make you gay, you know, if that's what you're afraid of. And you shouldn't be afraid of being gay anyway. Like, that's part of the unlearning that we have to do. So that's just a small little, you know, caveat to what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of things that we have to understand about masculinity or unlearn about masculinity and what it looks like today so that we can show up as better friends, better brothers, better fathers, better husbands, whatever it is. We got to show up better. And it has nothing to do with violence or accomplishment or any of these things that we've learned over time. So I want to thank these brothers for joining me today. This is a very powerful conversation. about breaking generational curses. I hope that you as an audience took away something today that you can go forward with. And just remember, vulnerability is not weakness. It's a strength. It is a strength. And that's what we're doing here. And it's like taking the first step forward towards legacy, a legacy of healing. That's what we want to pass down, a legacy of healing and growth. So big thank you to my guest, Dr. D, Dr. Vibe, and my brother Q. And I appreciate y'all sharing your insights and experiences and being vulnerable with me tonight. Listen, don't forget to subscribe, share, leave a review, talk, leave a comment if you haven't done so, if you're watching this on the playback, but most of all, share, man. Let's keep the conversation going. And let's redefine what it means to be a strong, self-aware black man. Let's redefine that. Let's start one person at a time. You can do that. Until next time, y'all, y'all take care of yourselves and, take care of each other.
How can people get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah. Good question, bro. Good question. You can contact me at consulting.com. I appreciate those of you that have reached out and have asked for consultations, man. I mean, that happens, and I appreciate it. You brothers want to start making a change. That's consulting.com. You can book your consultation right there. You don't got to talk to me or nothing, man. And you can come back here every Tuesday night. We're going to have another show next week. And then all of February, we're going to be talking relationships. And we're going to be, sitting with couples and things of that nature and other therapists and whatnot, trying to, provoke some healing in y'all relationships for February. So I look forward to doing that as well. But thank you, Dr. Vibe, for that. I appreciate you, brother. And again, till next time, man, y'all have a good night and take care of yourselves.
Peace.